I'm Jessica.
I'm Emmalynn.
And in today's video, we are going to be sharing with you all of the books that we read or listened to in the month of January, which has been, like, it's felt like 3 months, honestly. But that's okay. We're almost done. And we survived. Okay, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You have more, so you go first.
Okay. Wait.
This is the first one.
Okay, but I don't remember we were talking about that, but maybe I did. Okay. The first book I read this month was a Kindle Unlimited book by none other than my girl, Frida McFadden, and that was her book called Never Lie. So this book follows a husband and wife, and they're looking for their dream house. And they come across this house that, like, the husband was really excited to look at. And they kind of get stranded there in a snowstorm. And then, like, all of these eerie, creepy things keep happening while they're stranded there, which then spirals into as Frida McFadden does, a drastic turn of events. In which case, you think you know where she's going to go, to the point where you might, hypothetically, text one's daughter and say, I have this book figured out already. I know what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you so you can fact check me after I'm done reading it. And you're completely wrong.
To which I ignored.
Completely wrong. So, all of that to say, if you're looking for a thriller that will take you by surprise, and, you know, you won't be able to guess all the plot twists, this is a great one. As all of Frida McFadden books are, in my opinion.
Okay, my first book is also a Frida McFadden book, which is The Housemaid's Secret, which is the second book in the Housemaid series. And we just are still following our main shoddy, who, once again, is a housemaid.
What's her name, Millie?
Yeah, housemaid at a rich person's house, and of course it ends in tragic circumstances. So, it was great. Loved it. Excited for the third one.
Which one did you like better?
I like the second one more, I think, because it felt, I don't know, it was darker.
It was pretty dark.
It was more life-threatening.
Yeah.
The stakes felt higher, because I feel like you knew more in the beginning, and so it gave you a lot of anxiety. And in the first one, it felt like everything kind of just happened the last 25%.
Okay, the next book on my list is Good Girl, Bad Blood. And I'm slightly embarrassed to say that it took me this long to finish this series, because I just looked on my Goodreads and I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder in 2021.
That's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. So then I bought this one because I was like, well, maybe if I buy it, then I'll finish it. And I started it. I think I started it when we were, like, on our trip to Oklahoma in the airport. And I was like, I just can't get into this. Because it was kind of, the first part of the book is rehashing what happened in the first book. And that was just, like, kind of getting all muddled together for me. But once I got over the hump of that and into the new case that Pip is helping to solve, it really started to pick up for me. This one is a little bit different than the first one, because this one isn't following a murder case. It's following a missing person. So that was a little bit of an interesting plotline twist. I liked this one. I enjoyed it. It was fast-paced, and I have no beef with it, but I just liked the first one better.
Next book is also a sequel.
She's beautiful.
Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. My most favorite part, like many I'm sure, is of course the typewriter. It's not wanting to.
Also, even the dust jacket is actually just really pretty, which is I don't really find myself saying very often. You know?
Everything about it is.
Do those flowers have some, like, symbolism in the book at all?
Her name is Iris.
Oh.
So this one says, Maybe that's the only thing I could think of. This one says Dear Roman, and the first book says Dear Iris, which I just think is so cute.
Oh, that's cute.
But if you don't know, you're kind of crazy if you don't. This was like the historical fiction fourth wing of last summer. But Divine Rivals follows Iris and Roman. Iris and Roman are both interns at a newspaper company, and they're kind of fighting for a secure position. Her brother's off at war. It's a war between gods. And she's sending letters, she thinks, to her brother, but actually Roman is receiving them, and one day he writes back. And so it gives, like, You've Got Mail. Like, he figures out that it's her. She doesn't know it's him.
So is the war between the gods, like, a major plot line or not really?
Yes.
Okay.
But not till towards the end, and then it's, like, the main plot line in the second book.
Okay. Because I find that to be really fascinating.
Which makes it more believable, I feel like, because, like, why would these, like, writers just instantly go? But they become, like, war correspondents.
Oh.
Which is very interesting to me.
So, which of the two did you like better?
They're very different, I feel like.
So it really is a duology?
Yes.
Right? There's not going to be...
It's over.
Okay. It's over. It's over. Okay.
I feel like Ruthless Vows felt more like a fantasy book, and Divine Rivals felt more like a romance book.
Or, like, maybe the more historical...
It kind of gave... It was the same with, like, Dance of Thieves, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's how I view the two.
That makes sense. Okay, so then I ran everywhere in town to find this book. Yeah, I say town. Like, everyone was out of this. I don't know why. But I finally got a copy. And I devoured it very quickly. And I know a lot of people say that this book is a lot darker than the other two, and it definitely is. So,
it was my favorite.
Like, if that's not your thing, maybe you don't want to read this. But I almost felt like I couldn't believe what I was reading as, like, actually happening. Like, I thought maybe it was going to be like, and then she woke up. It was, like, that crazy and twisted. Like, so...
But also it was still believable to me.
Yeah. I mean, it was very detailed in its explanation.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
like,
I could
everything
very
was
vividly picture it.
Yes. Like, isn't this going to be a TV show?
Yeah.
When is this happening?
Well, they finished filming, I think, for the first season.
Because I could vividly see, like, the major scene that happens in this book playing out in my mind like a movie. And then I was thinking, oh, it's going to be a show.
Yeah,
so
I love the cast.
I'm really
also
excited to see... I hope that they stay very true to the books, because this doesn't need any more, you know?
I feel like they will, because she was on set.
Yeah, I hope so. But this Pip finds herself in a very bad situation, and she has to figure out what she's going to do to get herself out of that, and then the repercussions of the choice that she makes in that decision. Or in that the decision that she makes in that situation, and then the repercussions that will likely follow. So it was very dark, but I really enjoyed it.
Okay, my next book is a memoir-ish that I listened to, and it's called Becoming Free Indeed by Ginger Duggar. And if you're wanting something juicy about the Duggar family, you're not going to find it in this book. All of the reviews are bad, being like, I wanted to know what happened. And, like, she says in the prologue, like, if you want to know about my family, you're not going to find it here. Like, this is about my theological journey. This is a theological memoir. And it talks about the things she was taught a lot. But if you want, like, the tea on Josh, you're not going to get it here. But I think that the way she prefaced it, I thought it was great. I thought it was very, very interesting, and, like, the things that she thought as a kid that I would never even think of is crazy. So, yeah.
I think after you reading that one, and I read Jill's book last year, I just appreciate how tasteful and respectful they're remaining to their family, despite everything that they've gone through.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I applaud them for that. Okay. the next book I read was actually an ARC I received, I think in the summer, but I'd been putting it off.
That's embarrassing. People probably got declined from NetGalley and you didn't read it.
Until the winter, because it's not a summer read. It's just not. But I started it before it came out, and then I finished it after it came out, and that is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett. And this book is a little bit different than the first one because this one has a couple of mystery elements that are sprinkled throughout. So in this book, Emily Wilde is obviously working on this map situation to show all the locations of like where the hidden ones or the fairies are. And in this one, she starts out her journey by first she's trying to find a door, a missing door to get Wendell back to his homeland. So that's kind of the first mystery adventure element. And also, in order for her to find this other location that she's looking for, she's also trying to find this missing person that has been missing for like decades. And so she thinks, and she was also a professor, and so she thinks if she finds this missing professor, that the professor will help her get both of her goals. And so this one has kind of more of like an adventure element because she's going like hunting for these things and searching for them and having to talk to different people to find it. And then there's like these little creature fox guys. They're like good and bad. But
do they talk?
Yes, I think they do.
They give the vibes.
Yeah. But I liked this one. I enjoyed it. I felt like it was a little more slow than the first one. And like the setting of the first one I liked better because it was kind of like in this remote little village. It gave me like Norwegian forest vibes. This one I never really like connected with the atmosphere, the location, or the side characters like I did of the first one. So I enjoyed this one. I just liked the first one better.
Okay, my next book is also digital and also an ARC, but it is out now, and that is A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft. And this is like a Regency fantasy romance book. We follow our main girl. What is her name?
No one can ever remember main characters' names.
Niamh?
I have no idea.
I literally never knew how to...
Niamh, I don't know.
I never knew how to pronounce her name while I was reading it, so I was just like, she... You know, like how you kind of read things in your head while you're reading them. I was like, what is her... I still don't get it. I'll just put it on the screen. So we follow this girl who is a seamstress, and she gets hired by the king to make all of the clothes for the royal wedding. And we also have this subplot. There's lots of subplots, actually. We have one subplot where we're trying to figure out who this writer is of this gossip column that's spreading all this stuff and theories about the royal family. And one of them is that, like, she's involved with the prince that's getting married. And so then we have this other subplot of, like, underlying money issues in the kingdom. They're getting married for financial reasons. Lots of things. Basically, the whole book is everyone just trying to keep the peace. If you want some drama, I think this is a 10 out of 10 book because there's just a lot going on. Literally, my one complaint is I feel like if this was marketed as adult, it would be fine. But there's some things that I thought were a little too much for YA romantically. And that's just a pet peeve of mine. Like, I shouldn't have to research a book that's 12 and up.
Yeah.
For, like, if I am recommending it to a child. And, like, is it in the library at school? Those kinds of things. I didn't think it wasn't anything crazy. But just maybe a little too far if you were, like, 11. So, yeah, I liked it. It was my first Allison Saff book, so maybe I'll finally read A Far Wilder Magic after having it on every TBR.
every TBR ever.
Yeah, I feel like literally everyone I make, I talk about it.
For some reason, I, like, get on these journeys where I, like, see a book and I, like, fixate on it, like, I have to read this right now. Like, and it's usually books I don't own, of course. So I either, like, because I have that book in the back of my mind, like, really interesting me, I can't read anything else until I read that book. And this is what happened to me with this book, All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. I don't know what it was that just really intrigued me about this book, but I did find it very fascinating, so it worked out. But this follows a girl named Margot who's from this small town in Indiana. And when she was little, she lived with her uncle and her aunt most of the time. And they lived next door to this little girl named January Jacobs. And when January was 6 years old, she was taken from her home. And they found her dead like 6 days later or something. Or no, just a few hours later. And so, like, Margot grew up next to her and was friends with her, and this case was never solved. So fast forward to the future when Margot is an adult. She's like I think she's a true crime reporter, and she is working away, and she feels like she's supposed to move back to her hometown to live with her uncle and take care of him because he's suffering from severe Alzheimer's or dementia, and he's living by himself. So she picks up and moves back with him, and this other crime is committed in the town, and so automatically Margot is like, oh my gosh, this could be the same person as the person who took January, you know, all those years ago. And so she's like fixated on making the two cases connect somehow, and so she kind of, like, starts investigating both of them herself, and she pulls in, like, the town people because she's built this rapport with them because she's, like, you know, from that area. And so she works to eventually see if she can figure out who killed both of these people, or both of these little girls. But I just found it really fascinating because her uncle that has Alzheimer's, it's like, I don't think this is a spoiler, but it's like he has episodes and they like come and go, so he's like lucid sometimes, and then sometimes he's just completely, you know, has no inclination what he's saying or doing. And so it almost made him like an unreliable character in this book because of that. Mm-hmm. So that was a really interesting, like, I don't know, not really plot twist, I guess, but like just an interesting element to incorporate in the story that I've never seen in any other kind of like thriller, you know, kind of like, it's not true crime, but true crime fiction, I guess. But I really like this book. Looking for like a really bingeable, quick, you know, true crime feel read, or if you love true crime podcasts too, I think that would be a great book to pick up.
What an incredible segue.
Is it?
My next book was The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If you don't know what this is about, then I guess you didn't have an inheritance game hangover like I did. This follows a group of teenagers who have almost psychic abilities. They just notice things more than people. They're very observant, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so we basically followed them, and the FBI created a group for them called The Naturals. It's very obvious that a guy came up with that name. And they just have them, like, working on little cold cases, and then something starts to affect their lives and affect the kids of the program, so then they start working on an open case, yada yada. I never listen to audiobooks. I listened to 3 this month, okay?
All 3 of those, right?
No. The first one was the Ginger book.
Oh, right.
Because what pumps you up to work out, like, someone talking about, like, their theological struggles. And then I started The Naturals because I started to get back into crocheting, and I was like, I just need something to do. Like, I was running out of YouTube videos. So I wanted to listen to a book, and I feel like mystery is the easiest thing to listen to. I can't really listen to fantasy. And the way these are read, it gives a very true crime feel. I'll just go ahead and say, I also read the second one, Killer Instinct, this month. I listened to literally 7 hours of it in one day.
I don't even know how you...
How is that possible? I was awake for probably, 14 hours?
Yeah.
And read for half of that. But I was, doing the dishes, audiobook. Crocheting, audiobook. Working out, audiobook. Laundry, audiobook. Everything I did except shower, I was listening to my audiobook. Nonstop. Because the second one just had me so nervous. I was
The
scared.
second one is my favorite.
And that one really gave a true crime feel because they, have interviews, and so you're having interviews play out in front of you like you're listening to it, like a true crime documentary or something. And I already started the third one. I was going to take a break, and I was like, why not? And I feel like this one's going to be good, too. Takes place in a casino, and, of course, all I can picture is, Poker Face.
Yep.
Percy Jackson movies. But, yeah. I recommend the audiobooks a lot.
Okay, kind of. I'm glad I kind of skipped over mine the wrong way. I read 12, which is
Oh, my God.
The Naturals 4.5, which is a novella that takes place, obviously, after the other 4 books. And it was only 100, 100.
That is not enough.
Pages. Honestly, I did not really like it.
What's it even about? Who does it
just
follow?
one. I mean, all the main characters are in it, but just the case that they're working on was just very meh to me. I don't know. I just didn't. I could have not read it and been just as content. It wasn't trash. It wasn't poorly written or anything like that. I just didn't jive with the case that they were working on in that one. So
that's fair.
Anyways.
I'll still read it.
Yeah.
I'll finish this, but I'm talking about it so that it makes me finish it today because today's the 31st. Okay, This is a psychological game that I'm playing with myself. I'll let you know if it worked. I have 120 pages left. I thought this was going to be the greatest edition of Little Women to read, okay? The font is...
It's floppy.
Decently sized. It's, look at that. Wow. But it's almost 800 pages.
Because the pages are so
and it's
short.
just... It's, making me not enjoy it. But I realized, how much they cut out of the movie. It kind of makes sense because we're just now at the part, everyone knows the one, where Lori just got to Paris. Joe just now turned him down, and I have 100 pages left.
Wow.
So now I understand why they format the movies the way they do, because that to me is a really big plot point. So obviously spend more time on that. The one thing that I wish they included in the movies is this is a multiple POV book, which I didn't really know. And so, we follow Amy, we follow Meg, and there's no following Meg or Beth in the movie. It's just Joe and Amy. And, there's parts of the book where Meg is, really struggling with being a newborn mom with twins. And so she's, kind of neglecting John because she's just, fearful over her children all the time. So she goes and talks to Marmee and gets advice, and, none of that is in the movie. So I thought that was something that would have been good, but because that they all appeal to a different kind of girl, but it's okay. At least I read it.
Yeah, and you tabbed it.
Yes, I did.
The next book I read was by an author I've never heard of, who wrote a series I've never heard of. But I was watching a girl whose YouTube videos I've watched forever. Her name is Lip Gloss Leslie, and she did at the end of the year all these different favorites categories, and she did a whole video. She's more of a beauty makeup YouTuber, but at the end of the year she did a books favorite, And so I was listening to her talk about this series, and I was like, that sounds really interesting. And the way she pitched it was like Outlander, but like more concise because there's only 4 books in the series, and clean romance. So I was like, I think I'm going to look for that at the library. So I did, and they had it. And the first book is called Come Back to Me by Judy Hedlund, and it's called the Waters of Time series. So it's obviously got like an element of time travel, but it starts out in the present, and it follows our main girl named Marion, who is like a research scientist working in America. But her father is the owner of this really, like, think Pfizer or like a big pharmaceutical company. And he lives back in England, and they're both really trying to find a cure for Marion's sister, who has this genetic disease that was carried from her mom, but Marion didn't get it. So because Marion didn't get it, she also has like this guilt that she carries that her sister got it and not her. So it's like making her even more want to find a cure for her sister. But she gets a phone call on the first page, and the first line is like, your dad is in a coma, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, your father is in a coma. And so she finds out that her dad is in a coma. He has no health problems. He hasn't been in a car accident. He doesn't have a head injury. He just literally walked into the emergency room and then went into a coma. And he has like good vitals. All of his like lab work is coming back good, and they can't figure out what's wrong with him. So she travels to England to try to figure out what's wrong with her dad. And then she starts learning about how he had been researching this idea of finding holy water back from the Middle Ages as a cure for his daughter and Marion's sister's disease, but ultimately it would be like the ultimate cure for anyone. And so in doing so, he found some holy water and he drank it, and that's what's put him in a coma. But it's because his body is in the present, but his mind is in the past. And so she starts finding out all these things, and she doesn't believe it at first, but then she decides to try it, and then she is transported back into the Middle Ages. And so she is like coming in and out of these 2 periods in history, trying to find more holy water for her sister, but also to like test and hopefully turn into a cure for other people as well. So when she goes back to the Middle Ages, she meets this man named Will, and they have this whirlwind romance that is like perfection. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like, I don't know. There was nothing about this book that I didn't like, or I wish I would have changed. It was so good. I don't know if I'm going to finish the rest of the series, because the rest of the series is like all following different characters in the storyline, and I really just liked Marion and Will the most. So I don't know. We'll see. But I highly recommend clean romance, time travel, which I never thought I would like, but it was really good.
I'm done.
Oh, and lastly, I'm currently reading this, but I'm 80% in. I only have this much left, so I'll definitely finish it tonight. But this is Dark Corners by Megan Golden. This is the same author who wrote The Night Swim. And so this follows a true crime podcaster named Rachel Kroll, and she gets called in by the FBI to... Well, actually, she doesn't know. She just gets called in by the FBI, and they're like, meet us at Florida Correctional Facility. And so she comes, and they're like, do you know this man named Terrence Bailey, who's an inmate there? And she's like, no, I've never heard of him in my life. Why are you asking me? And so they have her go meet with him in the correctional facility, because this girl that had just met with him a few weeks before is now missing. And so they're wanting her to see if, like, he'll tell her where she is or whatever. Well, it doesn't work. And then they're like, never mind, we don't need you to do anything. That's all we wanted you to do. And she's like, you think I'm going to be done with this? Like, you just told me that there's this missing girl. You had me go into this, like, high security prison, and the guy is getting out in 2 days. And so she starts like doing her own investigating, and what's really funny is the girl that's gone missing is like this popular influencer. And so she poses as an influencer, and her like producer buys her followers to make it look like she's a legit influencer. Mm-hmm. So much so she can go to this like influencer conference called BuzzCon, and she's gonna go
also
there.
Known as VidCon.
She's gonna go there and like do her own investigating with like the people that the missing girl had been hanging out with. So it's really funny to see how like she's talking about influencers being described as just like completely materialistic and shallow and narcissistic and egotistical and all of these things, which isn't obviously always the case, but I don't know. It's really interesting like how she's tying all these things together on her own just by talking to all these influencers at this conference. So I'm really enjoying it. And that's all.
That's all.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like it was a pretty productive month for us.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it.
You just
no regrets.
You deserve a prize if you counted how many times I yawned. 'Cause that's embarrassing.
Okay. Well, I am off to... I think I'm going to go finish this.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to try to finish this.
And I'm going to put comfy clothes back on.
My fit is low-key giving Amy. But.
It is. You're right. In modern day form.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go get my Alani new.
Me too.
Let's go. Okay, let us know what your favorite book you read this month, and we will see you in our next video. Bye-bye.